The Holy Grail War is a great battle royale where 7 heroes of the past are summoned as servants. Together with their masters, they fight to be the last one standing and have their wish granted by the Holy Grail. This time around though, things played out differently thanks to the Greater Grail being stolen by the Yggdmillennia Clan. 2 factions, red and black, each with 7 servants, form. After a massive battle between the two, the red faction have taken the Grail. Sieg, a homunculus who was granted life by the hero Siegfried, is part of this war. As he struggles to learn about humanity, he continues working to help the black faction he's found himself in. Jean and Sieg decide to try and lure Jack the Ripper out by acting as bait. To do this, they head to Trifas. While there, the two spend their day sightseeing and allow Sieg to see human bonds and activities. As a homunculus, he can't fully grasp them. When they take a seat to talk, it becomes evident that Jean is developing her own feelings for him. Later, a fog envelops all the Trifas. As the two go on guard, Jack the Ripper and her master Reika appear. They get separated and Sieg ends up being ambushed by Reika. Meanwhile, Jean faces Jack. After blocking a surprise curse from the girl, she prepares to fight back. Jack, however, throws a civilian child at her, forcing her to protect him. Luckily, Chiron, who is observing from a distance, manages to hit Jack and stop him. As she lays bound, Reika finds the girl and tries to carry her to safety. Unfortunately for them, Atalanta is standing at the ready to end them both. As she fires an arrow to end the assassin, Reika jumps in the way and sacrifices herself. Atalanta comes closer to finish Jack off as well. The assassin, enraged by the death of her mother, stands menacingly. Meanwhile, Sieg has been enveloped by the fog and sent to what looks like Victorian London. Here he's faced with a child bearing a striking resemblance to Jack the Ripper. With the fog thickening, Atalanta and Jean are sent to the same corrupted world Sieg is in. Here they are each shown horrific visions of children from the Victorian era being abused, tormented, and killed. Jack the Ripper is no single person, but the collection of all these wronged souls and their hatred. Jean prepares to destroy the souls so they can be free from this cursed existence. Atalanta, however, stands against her, relating to the struggle of these souls. She refuses to let Jean hurt them. To her shock, the children themselves are prepared to pass on. They even agree with Jean's decision. After Jean ends them, Atalanta attacks her in a rage for her actions. She decides she can't forgive Jean's actions. As she fires arrow after arrow at the ruler, she deflects them with Chiron's help. When Astolfo arrives as well, Atalanta is forced to flee. Turning to Sieg, Jean pleads that he not let the things he saw wrap his views. Yes, there's evil in humanity, but there's good too. Sieg decides that the world is indeed beautiful, but he will forever carry the memory of what the children suffered. The black faction make preparations for their planned attack on the Hanging Gardens, the flying base of the red faction. While doing so, Astolfo reveals his noble phantasm can nullify the garden's defenses. The condition for this is it can only be activated on a moonless night, the night of the new moon. This is in 3 days. The next day, Sieg and Astolfo head into Trifas, where they meet Mordred. While they discuss the nature of humanity, Collis and Fiore undergo a transplant procedure. They've decided to make Collis the ruler of Yggdmillennia, as he can make the hard choices. When Sieg and Astolfo return to base, they meet with Jean. After Astolfo teases her about her feelings for Sieg, the ruler and homunculus share a touching moment together. As everyone settles in, the preparations for their battle with the red faction are reaching completion. On the night of the new moon, Jean, Sieg, Astolfo, Collis, Fiore, and Chiron head out to enact their plan. Riding atop airplanes, they take to the skies and approach the Hanging Gardens. As they approach, a prediction of Semiramis reveals Amakusa has entered the Grail. Following this, she sends forth the servants of Red to attack them. Achilles rides his chariot through the sky and attacks Chiron, taking down some of the planes in the process. Meanwhile, Jean is attacked by an enraged Atalanta. The Archer of Red still holds a deep grudge for Jean's actions regarding Jack the Ripper. Over with Chiron, he manages to use his foresight to destroy Achilles' chariot. With the Rider of Red stranded on the top of Chiron's plane, the two face off in close quarters. However, Achilles' words bring forth a realization in Chiron. Inside the Grail, Amakusa discards his emotions to achieve his goal of saving humanity. As he does this, he arrives in a garden he calls Heaven's Field. The ruler is greeted by a priestess who asks if he wishes to activate the third magic. Accepting, Amakusa asks to materialize the souls of all humans. Chiron realizes Amakusa's plan. He intends to use the third magic to rewrite humanity's history itself. As he engages Achilles, Sieg and Astolfo start destroying the Hanging Gardens' defenses. Riding atop Astolfo's hippogriff, they use his noble phantasm to destroy cannon after cannon. To stop them, the Lancer of Red appears and begins attacking them in turn. Realizing their progress has been halted, Sieg decides to engage Karna in battle. Landing atop the garden, he transforms into Siegfried and attacks the Lancer. Meanwhile, Astolfo uses the energy he has left to destroy the last of the garden's defenses before collapsing. Over with Chiron, Achilles uses his noble phantasm to trap the two in a pocket dimension. Here, the master and student face each other in a hand-to-hand battle of epic proportions. Though they seem to be on par with each other, launching each other through the planes, Achilles eventually gains the upper hand with a feint. Driving his fist forward, he impales Chiron's chest. As his phantasm wears off, Chiron reveals his own has been activated. From the stars above, an arrow of light shoots down and pierces Achilles' heel, taking away his immortality. Over with Jeanne, Atlanta has lost herself in her rage. In her feral state, she transforms herself into a corrupted beast-like form. As their battles continue, Jeanne is overwhelmed by the ferocity and viciousness of Atlanta's attacks in this dark state. Luckily, Achilles arrives and steps in for her. Telling the ruler to leave, he faces Atalanta on his own. He cannot allow someone he cares for to fall into evil like this. Jeanne now heads on to find Amakusa. Over with Sieg, his transformation has run out and he can no longer fight Karna. The Lancer of Red surprisingly allows him to recover. As Kala shows himself, Karna makes a deal with them. If they save the Red Masters imprisoned by Amakusa, he will have a fair battle with Siegfried, and even accept defeat if he can't beat him while he's transformed. As the Saber of Black and Lancer of Red fight, their battle releases incredible amounts of magical energy. Both fighters are determined to win, attacking with every bit of power they have. When Karna fires his noble phantasm though, Sieg realizes the Siegfried can't go all out because of him. Right then, Astolfo arrives, wielding Achilles' shield, which he gave him at Chiron's request. Astolfo nullifies Karna's attack and gives Sieg a clear shot at victory. The Saber shoots forward and impales Karna. As the Lancer passes on, he warns Sieg that Jeanne is in trouble. Over with Achilles, he manages to drive Atalanta into a corner. Putting his final bit of power into action, he forces Atalanta out of her demonic state, but is hit by her attack in the process. As the two pass on, they share a sweet moment of closure. While the other battles rage on, Mordred and Shishigou sneak into the garden's inner chambers. Here they're separated by Semiramis. The assassin of Red fills her chamber with a poisonous fog that weakens the Saber and engages Mordred in battle. Using everything in her arsenal from elemental magic to beam attacks, and even summoning monsters, she drives Mordred to the edge. As they fight, the Saber of Red comes to a realization about her goals. Calling out to Shishigou, she manages to break him into the chamber, where he injects her with an antidote for the poison fog. With Shishigou at her side, Mordred manages to break through Semiramis' defenses and destroys her magic core. Unfortunately, the battle leaves Shishigou fatally wounded. As he sits in place, slowly dying, he shares one final smoke with Mordred. Before they pass on, the two manage to find closure in the acceptance of their true desires. Meanwhile, Astolfo and Sieg race towards Jeanne because of Karna's warning. Astolfo is trapped and tells Sieg to go on. Jeanne is trapped in an illusion world by Shakespeare, the caster of Red. Shown memory after memory of her past, Jeanne is eventually driven to despair when she's shown Sieg's decapitated head by Gile. As it turns out, he's a servant. Questioning her love for Sieg, despite being a supposed lover of all humanity, he makes Jeanne have a mental breakdown. Exiting from within the Grail, Amakusa meets Jeanne, Shakespeare, and Gile. He explains his true plan. He will materialize the soul of all humans and have them live as sentient spirits. This is his way of making a world with no suffering. Though Jeanne is leaning towards agreeing due to her weakened mental state, Sieg arrives just in time to bring her back. He rejects Amakusa's ideals and insists that there is inherent goodness in all beings just as there is bad. Hearing his words, Jeanne regains her resolve and stands by his side. She too rejects Amakusa's plan and stands against him with her own resolve clear. She manages to convince Gile to return to the light as well. Facing Amakusa, Jeanne releases her second noble phantasm, La Pucella. As she gathers the energy for her attack, Gile holds back Amakusa's magic and passes on in the process. Unleashing all her power in a single attack, Jeanne attempts to destroy the Grail itself. Unfortunately, all she achieves is taking one of Amakusa's arms. As Sieg cradles her in his arms, Jeanne passes on with the promise to find him again. Sieg is left embracing the body of Laetitia, the girl Jeanne possessed. Callas and Astolfo finally arrive to support Sieg, but are trapped by the wounded Semiramis. As it turns out, she's still alive. Furious at the loss of Jeanne, Sieg turns towards Amakusa with his sword in hand. After declaring that he cannot forgive him for taking her away, Sieg engages him in a fierce battle. As the two fight, Sieg shows unbelievable levels of speed and strength for a homunculus. As he watches this, Callas realizes what has happened. The Berserker of Red, Frankenstein's power, is living on within Sieg. As his duel with Amakusa continues, Sieg is able to land many blows but is ultimately weaker and less experienced than his opponent. This is what allows Amakusa to impale Sieg on his blade in their final exchange. To everyone's shock, Sieg simply moves forward on the sword and grasps Amakusa with his fists. Letting out all his rage, he uses Frankenstein's blasted tree attack, and both fighters are enveloped in an immense explosion of power. Following Sieg's final attack, the Hanging Gardens have begun collapsing. Amakusa awakens in Semiramis' lap and the two pass on peacefully. Sieg and Astolfo find themselves within the Grail. Here, they meet the priestess Amakusa met. She reveals she's just a sort of interface to manage the Grail. To their dismay, the magic Amakusa activated can no longer be stopped. Astolfo also notes that Sieg's hand has completely turned black. His homunculus body is now on the verge of becoming a dragon. Since Amakusa's plan can no longer be stopped, Sieg asks a question of the Grail. Hearing it, Astolfo pleads with him to reconsider since it'll be beyond painful for him. him. However, Sieg's mind is made. As he prepares to carry out his own plan, he makes a final request of Astolfo and has him flee. Alongside Collis and Letitia, Astolfo just barely escapes the collapsing gardens on his hippogriff. As they glide through the sky, they are met with the sight that Sieg stayed behind to achieve. The man has turned into a dragon and is carrying the Grail itself to somewhere it can't affect humanity. With the Holy Grail War finally over, the world is at peace. Collis is accepted into the Magic Association. Letitia returns to her homeland, and Astolfo carries out his master's last order, to live his life among humans and live it well. An undisclosed amount of time later, Sieg rests in an alternate dimension as a dragon guarding the Grail. Unexpectedly, he hears the voice of the one he misses the most. Jeanne has finally found him. Taking his hand in her own, she reverts him back to his human form, and the two reunite and depart on their next journey. Jeanne finally confesses her love for Sieg. The end.